Alright, here it is. Chess in Minecraft. This is my chess computer that I built. So welcome back to my channel. Sorry for missing my upload schedule there for 12, 13 years. It's been a while. Yeah, life just happens. I moved countries, I got married. Now I'm expecting my second kid here in a couple of weeks. And so I figure I would upload this before life gets too crazy again. There's more work to be done. There's always, these are never-ending projects. You can always do more. But I'm pretty happy with the state of where it's at. Yeah, I built in all the rules, with the exceptions of like the specialty rules like en passant and castling and queening. Those are just so unique that yeah, I didn't incorporate them into this design. But maybe someday. And yeah, you can see the pieces are 3D. They come up out of the board, so they stick up. So it's not just a flat display. And the computer can play itself, or you can play against the computer. This is the input panel here. I'm pretty happy with how compact this turned out. So this allows you to move for white. I can show you guys that later. This indicator shows whose move it is, white or black. And then this is a progress bar that shows how far along it is in the calculation to do each move. And yeah, it's pretty bug-free. There was a lot of bugs to work out. I had to figure out a lot of problems, how to build this, but I can talk more about that in a little bit. I figure, why don't I show you guys a full game on this 8x8 board, since that's probably the main reason people are here, is to see it in action. And yeah, it's a time-lapse. Basically, between each move, it calculates for a while, depending on the board size and how many pieces there are. Here for this size, it'll take up to, I don't know, 1 to 2 minutes to calculate the next move. And so what I did is I just keyframed each move, so you don't have to wait around to see the next move. But it is sped up. But the moves, yeah, they're all it's all one recording, one single game. In fact, it's the first one. I just recorded the first game that it played, and so I will roll that now, and then after that, I'll spend some time talking about the machine. Oh, there's one. I think there's one illegal move it does. See if you can catch it. There's one bug that I haven't fixed, but see if you can catch the illegal move. All right, here's the full game of chess. So this is the computer playing the computer, so it's playing against itself. Enjoy. guys enjoyed that. So that was a full game. I think the full game took about 2 hours to play, although running on my laptop, it's a little slower. Like my laptop isn't, it's just a MacBook. So um, it does um, have a hard time keeping up with the with all the calculations and everything. So I know it'd be faster on a better rig. Shout out to my friend Ian for letting me record the intro on his gaming rig, because I cannot render this whole machine. You can tell it's jerky just um, recording here and seeing this small tiny portion of the machine. The machine is huge. It's pretty much as big as it can be. So in vanilla Minecraft, like I have the spawn chunks set to maximum. I think it's like 32 chunks radius or something like that. Whatever the maximum is, and it fills up pretty much half that volume. So it's about 1,000 blocks by 500, and then all the way from bottom of the world all the way to the top, to the build limit. So it goes all the way down here, and I'm at what, like minus 60 here, so it's just a couple blocks. And yeah, and it goes all the way to the top. So this thing is enormous. Yeah, I got back into Minecraft a few months ago. My 6-year-old started playing it, and so set up a little server and we play sometimes. And I was like, I've always wanted to build chests. So you can see here I'm at build limit at the top. But yeah, back when I was making my first few videos, like I had this idea of making a chess board, and I actually started with this concept of like how to build in like these squares and how to make it so that you can actually generate every single piece using like a certain piston layout. And took some time to design, and I actually used that same design when I built this machine here. But I ran into so many issues trying to build it that I really wasn't able to make the machine work. It was just like too limiting back, with the redstone components that were available at the time. I don't think we even had like redstone blocks. We certainly didn't have observers. And so it was just too much. Like I ran into too many issues in too many places. Yeah, including like without mods, having a size, like having a this many chunks loaded to run a machine like this wasn't possible back then. But yeah, this machine is very, very big, and it could be. I think it's about, yeah. I think it could be like twice as big. So from a volume perspective, and then it would still fit into those spawn chunks, but it's also very dense. Like you can see how everything's built. I make quite good use of the space. So when I set out to build it, really, there's a couple of things I wanted to achieve. I wanted it to be a 3D board where these pieces could come out of the board like this. And I wanted it to be, actually playable, to an extent. So it had to be as fast as I could make it. And I did that by basically parallelization. So a lot of this machine does a lot of simultaneous checking, and it checks, for instance, before it makes a move, it'll iterate through the opponent's pieces and see which which moves, which pieces it can actually take, and then it does that by doing a single check. So essentially, this machine allows me to pick any square here on the board and ask the question, is it possible to take that? Like, is it possible to move to that square, to take that piece there? And if the answer is yes, then it makes a decision on which piece to move there. So it'll move like basically the lowest piece it can, the lowest piece in value. And by parallelizing it, I was able to actually build it in a way that on smaller boards I can play this, and it goes fairly quickly, which I can show you. So let me load up a smaller board here, and it'll be a little bit easier to demonstrate some of the stuff. Alright, here we have a 5x5 board. It's a little smaller here. The gap, incidentally, between these two machines, so this is one computer and this is the other one, sort of, but this gap stays the same size, and then it just fills the board in depending on the size of the board. But yeah, I can show you kind of how some of these controls work. So this is the input board, so let's say I want to go right here, then I can just say move there. So this is all actual speed of the computer, so you'll see how fast it is. And here it moves this, that should move it right here. So that pawn moved. Now if we want to get the computer to play, so you see this changed from white to black. If you want the computer to play one move, you push this button. And now what it's going to do is it's going to cycle through the white pieces and check each one from highest value to lowest. So it's going to check which piece it can take, and then it's basically going to take the highest value piece that it can. So in this case, it can only take this white pawn. So each time a light lights up down here, it's going to test that piece. You see it's able to take this white pawn with this black pawn, and so it moved. Now my white pawn is gone. Now you can have, so this changed from black to white, now it's white's turn. You can have the computer move for white as well. And then it does the same thing. And so it just cycles through, sees which of the pieces it can take. And if it can take one, it takes it. And one of the rules I have in there is that it will only capture a piece if on capturing that piece, the piece is not in danger. Or, so in this case, this white pawn is in danger because it could be captured by this pawn. So if that's the case, then it will only capture with a piece of equal or less value to the one that it captured. So for instance, a queen will not take another pawn if on taking that pawn the queen is now in danger. However, if the queen is not in danger, then it will take that pawn regardless. So that's a check that I have built in. So then you can have it play continuously by just flicking this lever, and it'll just kind of keep cycling through until you turn off the lever again. So right now it's black's turn, and so it's going to see which piece it can take. And if it can't take a piece, then it makes a random move. So I have a randomizer built in, and yeah, it picks a random square that it can move to, and then it will move its piece there. So you see black just made the decision to capture here. And now the next move, so now white is moving, should be white. So this is the king, this is the queen, this is the bishop, the knight, and the rook. So I don't think white's able to capture anything except the pawn here. I'm not very good at chess, so I don't see these things very quickly. But yeah, so it's cycling through, and once it realizes it can capture, it will capture. So it's fairly quick in doing the calculations, and yeah, it just keeps playing. You can see that it's really maxing out here. So it could be faster if I had a better PC. As you can see, the ticks or the TPS really maxing out, which causes the game to lag. But overall, I'm pretty happy with, I feel like I managed to accomplish what I set out to accomplish, which was having the 3D board and having it actually, play, be able to play against itself, and that you could play as well. So I can switch this off. Now it'll stop playing once it completes this move. Let's turn this off. So yeah, that wanted there to be an option for input that you could move pieces, and I wanted it to be relatively fast, or as fast as I could make it anyway. You'll notice that this input panel only serves as a destination panel, so I intentionally chose not to have this be a source and destination input, just because I wanted it to highlight kind of the game's rules and logic that it has built in, or the computer's rules and logic. So instead of telling it from where to where, I just pick a square that I want to move to, and then it will pick the piece. It'll move the lowest value piece to that square that it can. So, for instance, let's pick this square right here. The king could move there, the queen could move there, the bishop and the knight can all move there. In this case, the knight is considered the lowest value piece. So pawn is lower than knight, is lower than bishop, is lower than rook, is lower than queen, and then king. So in this case, it should move the knight to this square. If I tell it to move there, I'll select it. Because the others are considered higher value. And sure enough, this is the one it picks. And if you do an illegal move, if you tell it to move to an illegal destination that it can't move to, then it just does a random legal move. It just does the best legal move it can think of. Oh, and speaking of which, I don't know if you guys caught it, there was one illegal move in the demo in the game, and it was a double pawn move. I think black did a double pawn move, jumping over the pawn in front of it. So the computer knows that pawns can move 2 squares if they're on the starting line. Otherwise, it'll only move 1 square. But I completely forgot when I was designing this to actually incorporate collision detection for that specific move. So if there's a piece in front of the pawn and the pawn is moving, so it can't capture, but is trying to move to 2 squares out, then there's no collision detection. So that's the bug that's still in here. And the way it's built, how the collision detection is designed, by the time I realized my mistake, or my oversight, yeah, I would have had to rebuild too much of the machine, and so I decided to just leave it. So that is the idiosyncrasy here in this chess computer. So I think now I'll load up a smaller board yet and show you some of the other mechanics as well as how I'm building these boards, because I'll be uploading this map It'll be in the link in the video description, so you can download it and play with this yourself. So let me load up a smaller board here, and then we'll keep going. So, you'll notice there's no chess computer here, and that's because I want to show you how I build it, so you can do the same when you, if you want to play this map. So like I said, I'll put this map available for download, and what I discovered pretty early on was that this was too complex to build like how I would regularly build something. So what I did is I started building it procedurally. So as I designed and built this machine, I wanted it to scale. I wanted to build it, all the way as an 8x8. And so I built everything modular, and then I wrote a program in C++ that just creates a bunch of functions, and those functions are pretty much just clone commands. And then what the game does, is when you run those functions, so they're available in a datapack here on this map, then these functions execute, and like I said, they just clone commands, and they take all these different pieces, all these different components that I built, kind of lining the outside of this world, this corner, and they generate the machine. And this way it was just much easier to troubleshoot and to iterate, and also build it in a way that was scalable. So if you want to build the machine, you can enable one of these data packs. My computer is not powerful enough to have all of these enabled, and so that's why I split it into different data packs. So for instance, if I enable the 2x2, now you should have some functions available. These functions are the ones that you want. Anything beyond is just used by the other functions, because you can only have like 32,000 commands in a single function. And to build the 8x8, I think it has like 500,000 clone commands. So there's like 180 or 190 different functions that it calls. But if you want to build it, the way to do it is, so enable the data pack and then build the board first. So now we should see the board being built. And you'll see it spiked there. It kind of tells you how far along it is. And so yeah, all it's doing here is just taking all these components and putting them together, piecing them together the right way. And so once the game calms down in the bottom right there, once you stop seeing like crazy spikes, then you can build the computer around the board. So that this will build the computer. So it kind of generates it around the board and then connects it so that the whole thing ends up being one machine. And once again, you kind of wait until your red spikes die down there, and then you can set the board. And I just have a preset for each size, that makes sense. In this case, the 2x2 just has 2 pawns for white and 2 bishops for black. And the reason I use those 2 pieces is because they actually allow me to set glass here as well. And that will just replace the board with transparent glass, so that you can kind of see what's going on. And these 2 pieces happen to be the only ones that don't break the board if you run them with the glass blocks, because these piston moves here require non-transparent blocks to push up the pieces and to pull them down. And then the way these line up, you can kind of see, well, that black block above the white one, that just happens to line up when the block state is arranged in this way, so that there's a non-transparent block there, and then the same for the black bishop here. Anyway, yeah, for this one I can turn up my render distance, but for any other, and it's still jerky, but for any other board I have to turn it down. So when you build the board, that's really important, is turn down your render distance. It'll go much, much faster. And in fact, sometimes it can crash your game if your computer's not powerful enough to handle it. If you run the function with your render distance turned up too high. So if I play this game, let's see here, you should see the white pawn take the black bishop. You can kind of see what's going on. It's kind of cool. And then now you should see the black bishop take the white pawn, because once again it takes that, even though the bishop is more valuable than the pawn, because the bishop won't be in danger here once it's on that square. There we go. And now the game is stuck because there's no valid move for white. So I'll just turn that off. You may have also noticed that when I manually moved for white in the previous clip, it was actually black's turn. So you can override that. You can always move white. Yeah, anyway. So then if you want to clear the board, what you'll do is you can run these functions here. There's a clear all. The clear all essentially does a blanket clear across the whole map, with the exception of, what's outside of these, like what's on the polished diorite there. So it kind of does a blanket clear. That's faster when the board gets a certain size. So I use that once I'm at, like, I don't know, 5x5 or 6x6. But for smaller boards, it's faster to run these clear computer and clear board functions. Clear the computer first, otherwise you might have some blocks that don't get cleared. And now it'll go through and basically do the same in reverse. So every time it does a clone command in a separate function, there's a fill air command. Clear the board. Now everything should be cleared. And if you do this with the largest board, your game might be choppy even after you clear it. You can get rid of the choppiness by disabling the datapack. But if you re-enable the datapack, it'll get choppy again, so you actually have to exit the whole game. Like, not just quit the map, but exit Minecraft and start it up again. So I don't know, some memory thing. But here's a map I made when the 8x8 board was spawned in. So this is, every pixel is one block, and you can see this like faint blue outline. That is the maximum size of that's the spawn chunks that are enabled. So spawn chunk radius, yeah, is set to 32, which is the max, and that's this blue line that kind of traverses it, and you can kind of see, this is just an instant wire that goes all the way around the map, and so if I break it, like, it instantly goes all the way around the map and comes back. If you were to do this one block further out, then that wouldn't work because those chunks wouldn't be loaded. And so you can see, yeah, this thing fills up the better part of half of this space, and then it goes pretty much from the floor all the way to build limit. And so yeah, that's how big the machine is. And all of these components here are, yeah, the ones that are used to build it. So some of them I've like built multiple times for different sizes just because it was a little easier than taking a subset of these to clone them. So like this one here, you see I've built out each one for the input panel. Others, most of them, it just uses the same components, and then it will clone them the appropriate amount of times in the right location to actually generate the board in the computer that of the size that you requested. And yeah, let me pause here, and then I might demonstrate one more thing. But yeah, that's how you can actually build these boards yourself. So datapack, if you want to enable, let's do the 4x4. I'm just going to turn down my render. And then, actually, let's do the 3x3. It's a little faster. And the function, first thing you want to build is the board. So now, basically, each time it, like, as it progresses through the different functions that it calls, it gives you a percentage. So you can kind of see where it's at. And then build the computer around the board. Let's see if we can find it on this low render distance. And then before you set the board, just make sure that all of the, like that, let's calm down here. So you see in the bottom right, it's all green. So I should be able to up my render distance now a little bit. And let's find the input panel right here. So now I'm going to set the board. And I could build all this as, you know, functionality in the game. That's an example of something that I could still do, like so that it sets the board actually via Redstone instead of these clone commands. But yeah, kind of out of time right now, and I wanted to post this. So let's see here. So yeah, I can manually move. So let me say I move the knight up here. Then it should, the computer should then try to take the knight with the rook. There's the knight. And you can tell it's already a little slower because it's already like maxing out. There's a ton of instant wire everywhere because I wanted to make it as fast as possible, and I also wanted there to be no speed variance or no variance in the amount of ticks required to do anything depending on the, like, no matter the board size. So this allowed me to do better scaling, but it also means that it will lag the game quite quickly. So yeah, then you could keep playing if you just flip this lever. Yeah, I'm sure there's a ton I could say. I could you know, walk through how the whole thing works, but I think this video is already getting pretty long, and so I think I will call it there. And if you guys do enjoy it and want more, like want me to talk about, you know, how I built some of these things and what these different components are and how the machine works, then let me know in the comments, and I will find the time to make another video in the coming weeks / month or two. But yeah, I think I will leave it there for now. I hope you enjoy. I hope you have fun playing with this machine and that it can be inspirational. That yeah, there's always more we can still build with Redstone, which is cool. And I'll hang out in the comments a bit. over the next couple of weeks. So if you guys have questions, feel free to post them there. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a great Christmas, New Year, and if you guys want, I'll post another video, so I might see you guys soon. Alright, take care.